right, we are moving on to our subtracting portion of our unit. Your learning target, you can subtract integers of same or different signs. That's what you're going to be able to do today. We're going to go right into the subtraction rule. The first thing you do is change to plus the negative. So anytime you see subtraction, starting from today, I want you to turn it to plus a negative. And then since we changed it to plus, now I can add following the addition rules. And I just want to summarize what the addition rules are because some kids forget. Addition rules, if they're the same sign, you add them. If they're different signs, you subtract them. Okay? So you turn it to plus a negative and then decide, are you going to add or subtract them? So let's apply it. 35 minus 72. I expect you to write this as 35 plus a negative 72. That's what I want you to do. And now are they the same or different signs? Different, because I have one positive, one negative. So they're different, I'm going to subtract. So 72 minus 35 is 37. Do I have more negatives or more positives?
Negatives.
So it's going to be negative 37. Okay, before I show you what most of us probably do, I want to show you the technical way of doing this negative 12 minus a negative 7. A lot of you automatically see you should just go plus plus, maybe from last year, you remember that? Let me show you the actual reason, but then you can start applying that, because that's what I do too. We have to turn it to plus a negative, so we have negative 12 plus a negative negative 7. That's what that really is. But this is really saying negative 1 times negative 7, which is a positive. So this really turns into negative 12 plus 7. Now you don't have to do this part. I just wanted to expose the true math behind it. You can turn it to just plus plus. That's what I personally do. Now they're different, a negative and a positive, so I'm going to subtract. 12 minus 7 is 5. I have more negatives. Okay, negative 123 minus a negative 12. I see I can turn it to plus plus. Did you see that?
Yes.
Yep. So now I'm just rewriting it so it looks not messy. Negative 123 plus 12. Are they the same or different signs?
Different.
So subtract 1, 2, 3 minus 12. And what do I get? 1, 11, and I have more negatives, so it's going to be a negative answer. This next one is the most important one, why we turn it to plus a negative. Because a lot of kids think that they just subtract these. You do not subtract these. This turns into plus a negative 12. So negative 43 plus a negative 12. They're the same sign, so I'm going to add them. So it's 43 plus 12, and keep it negative. All right, how do you feel about plusing a negative? Good. What about minusing a negative? Do you feel like you know to turn that to plus plus?
Yeah.
All right. Next one. I'm going to have you take a minute and go through these problems. So I'm going to pause this. You go through. I'm going to give you about 5 minutes. Okay? All right. You should have been able to work through a bunch of them. Remember that if I ask you to pause, you can pause the computer before you start it up. I'm going to go ahead and work through it. I have different signs here. It's already addition. So I'm going to subtract them. 4.3 minus 3.5. And I get 0.8. I have more positives, so it's going to be a positive 0.8. The next one, it looks like everything thing is subtraction or addition, so I'm just going to group together. I have a 10 and 15, that turns to 25, plus I have 9 negatives then, after I grouped those together, and that gives me 16. 25 minus 9 is 16. I have more positives, so it's positive 16. Negative 28.3 minus a negative 35.1 turns to plus plus, so I'm just going to rewrite that so it looks nicer. Negative 28.3 plus 35.1. They're different signs, so I subtract 35.1 minus 28.3. I'm going to do some borrowing. This should be 4. 6.8, and I have more positives, so it's a positive 6.8. The next one, I have a common denominator already, so I just have to add the tops. So it's the same sign, that means I add. So 5 plus 7 over 8, which is negative 12 over 8, which is negative 1 and 4/8, which is negative 1 1/2. Took up a lot of room. Okay, this next multi-term one, I can't start combining numbers until I turn everything to plus. So I need to make sure that they're plus first. So this turns to plus plus, this turns to plus and negative. And then everything else is plus. So I'm going to rewrite it so my brain knows what the heck's going on with that one. Negative 4 plus 10 plus 5 plus a negative 20 plus 2. Now I can group. I'm grouping my negatives. That's a negative 24. I'm grouping my positives. What's that? 15, 17. They're different signs, so I subtract. And I have more negatives. And lastly, I see a minus a negative. That should turn to plus plus. I do always rewrite it with plus plus because I feel like it looks really messy. I need a common denominator of 6 times by 3. So this should be negative 15. My final answer should be negative 15 plus 3 all over 6. Figure out my top. They're different, so I subtract. 15 minus 3 is 12. And I have more negatives over 6, which is negative 2. And we are done subtracting integers.